Alrighty, the backup is where we talk about the most hard-hitting news of the week, as long as it's related to video games. And today, for possibly the first time, we have the intersection of real boring tax news and exciting video game shoot 'em beat 'em up news. So we're covering. You don't need to go anywhere for any other news. Where you do need to go though is to Hero Pocketeer Tim, because none of this would be possible. Well, that's not true. All of this would still go on without Tim, but we're very thankful for Tim's support from the Learn Programming Academy. Get your exclamation mark Tim's out in the chat, because the Learn Programming Academy offers classes covering the entire range of programming that are easy to watch for all skill levels, and they're almost all $20 or less. Head to lpa.dev/backpocket to download the custom Backpocket info guide on everything Tim has to offer and become the coding genius you didn't know you always were. I was about to make a joke about how you could probably program a super smart shark, and then I remembered that was something that we were talking about when we went on air.
That's true. That's true.
So they can just...
Deep Blue Sea 3 is out, ladies and gentlemen, just in case you weren't aware. Straight to DVD.
And let me tell you, it is great when you're drunk. Right? Was it good?
Yeah. No, but yeah, it was entertaining enough.
Yeah, okay, fair. All right, let's jump into the news. And the first story that we're going to kick it off with is that boring tax story, because Australia is introducing a tax rebate for video game development. Australia, we used to be a video game making hub when it came to AAA titles, and then it all fell apart. But Alex Walker from Kotaku writes that after years of lobbying from the local video game industry, the federal government will finally announce a refundable nationwide tax offset for video game development in Australia. Kotaku Australia understands that the full terms of the rebate will be announced on Tuesday, the 11th of May, the night the budget is formally handed down, which is tonight. But the government is planning to introduce a 30% digital games tax offset as part of new investment incentives, which includes packages to help small businesses build on their digital capacity. A post on the Digital Economy website outlines some of the restrictions, with businesses having to spend a minimum of $500,000 to qualify, and that games with gambling elements or that cannot obtain a classification rating will not qualify. Steph, you've been in this game long enough, I think, to remember when it all fell apart the first time?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I also remember listening to other people talk about from cooler countries like Canada who had tax rebates like this, and
cooler countries,
and how it seemed like their government really cared about the industry and were sort of looking to, build and support that. And I was like, man, why can't our government do that? And we were just like, give us an R18 rating. So I feel like we've just been taking baby steps where we can, and now it seems like we're finally getting them to sort of sit up and listen and appreciate what we have to offer the game development industry as a whole, which would be very exciting.
Well, I mean, let's be clear. The Australian government don't give a fuck about what we have to contribute to the game development industry. They care about the fact that games are a good source of revenue and are great for the economy. And it's really shameful that we were in a really strong position, a much stronger position 10 years ago than we are today. And hopefully this turns it around and we get back in shape. We had Irrational Games here. We had 2K had a presence here, and
let's get Rockstar Bondi open again.
Yeah, exactly.
Bondi.
Bondi.
Remember that every time you would hear about LA Noire, it's developed by Rockstar Bondi, and it's oh god,
that's so funny.
Yeah.
I remember it being devastating when all of those studios closed down. It felt like that, every time they wanted to kind of expand and they expanded out of Australia, then, this was also the first location they would close as well when they needed to sort of save money. So I guess my only concern would be that I hope that this is something that is an investment in our sort of future long-term involvement in game development, and it doesn't sort of everyone gets excited and then they just pull the plug again in a few years.
Yeah, I think it'll be good for the local scene. I imagine that it's going to be very strong pretty quickly. If you're already developing a game, gambling elements, I assume that we're not talking about loot boxes, but we're more talking about pokey style video game sort of genuine gambling stuff. But if you're making, like a successful mobile game or something in Australia already, then you're probably already spending $500,000 on producing that thing, so you're fine. But it would be really good to be able to make Australia again one of those countries that that big publishers and developers overseas sort of go, oh, we can actually save money by moving down here. That's ultimately what you want, and we're not going to see that straight away. I imagine it will be a couple of years, because one does not just open up a Team Bondi. One has to first of all, you have to be legally allowed to enter the country, which no one is at the moment. But once they are, then yeah, the idea that you can come down here and get your EAs back, get your 2Ks, get your whoever is around and looking for some tax breaks, because for those businesses, they're as excited about saving money as we are for them to spend it.
Yeah, and it still feels like, and we're not developers, but we know developers and talk to developers, and it still feels like the missing part of the puzzle in Australia is a place for developers to go after they've developed a bunch of skills.
Exactly.
Making, like, the indie scene here is actually really strong still. And there's a bit of a double A scene, and that's from some indies doing really well. Like, we got Hand of Fate 2
Hand of Fate, that sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is like, there's studios that maybe get to like 30 people. And these tax breaks should help those studios a lot as well. But it's like, if a Ubisoft and an EA and a 2K and those kinds of teams start coming back into the country, there's places for people to go, and the industry as a whole just gets boosted so much, because we don't just have talent leaving the country because they want to go and work on something bigger with a larger team.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to see.
It is. There is just such a missing gap there, because you look at like you have your Untitled Goose Game and Hollow Knight, like Team Cherry and that sort of thing, where they're these really small teams. And then the thing is, like, do you just continue making, as long as you can keep coming up with brilliant ideas, then you're all good. But if you want to stretch your wings a little bit and go like, okay, I want to make something bigger or more complex, then the best option for you is to really move overseas. So yeah, we'll see tonight whether or not this is all coming to fruition. But all the reporting so far seems to be pretty spot on, and it's been confirmed all over the place. So yeah, hopefully we see some people getting some new opportunities moving forward because of this. A company that does not need a tax break, but I'm sure is incorporated in Ireland somewhere and so barely pays any of it, Activision are planning to triple the size of some of their development teams by the end of 2022. Andy Chalk from PC Gamer writes that Activision didn't reveal anything new about the state of Overwatch 2 or Diablo 4 during last week's quarterly earnings call, but it did tease some very big plans for the future, including more frequent game releases and an increased focus on live operations, which will require significant levels of new hires over the next couple of years. CEO Bobby Kotick said, "As we look forward, demand for our content has never been stronger. We continue to ramp our investment in creative and development talent, especially with increased competition from Chinese companies and platform providers, and this will allow us to better serve our players. From the start of 2020 through to the end of next year, we intend to hire more than 2,000 developers. We plan to triple the size of certain franchise teams compared to the team sizes in 2019. And we have aggressive hiring plans around the world, including new studios or major expansions in Poland, China, Canada, and Australia." So Australia may be getting a new studio potentially from Activision. Pete, what the fuck do Activision make other than Call of Duty anymore?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. Because they've had like
Spyro Reignited 2018.
Yes,
Yeah.
Spyro, like they published Sekiro a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah. Shadows Die Twice.
They've always had, well, they've tended to have in the past that kind of second big thing. Like for years, it was like Activision did they published the Harmonix games, right? They were Rock Band. Is that true?
They they Rock? They were Guitar Hero. They were
Guitar Hero. Sorry,
yeah. But they and they had like they had Tony Hawk. They had Marvel Ultimate Alliance. They had Destiny there for a while.
They did all
They did
the
have Destiny for a while.
They did the
Spyro
and the Skylanders games.
stuff.
Yeah.
So there was always like that other revenue thing, and now it's like when I think about it, I can only think of COD.
Yeah. Well, this is
There's other
exciting. Maybe
things,
they're
I'm
going to
sure.
expand outside of COD and develop some new stuff, which would be cool.
Yeah, it's because I saw this and I was like, I mean, I assume you are, right? Because you don't. Well, I don't know how to develop video games, but I don't think you need 2,000 more people making Call of Duty right now. I think Call of Duty seems to be. Well, there have been some behind-the-scenes reports of how much of a shit show the next one's going to be, but I don't think the solve for that is adding 2,000 people. So hopefully they are looking to expand out, because it is funny just seeing like how a company can go from having, like, if you look at them during the 80s, they published so much stuff and like a real variety of things. And then it's almost like every decade that goes by, there's just been this like refinement of what they're doing, and we're now just so solidly in this idea that I don't think of Activision as anything other than Call of Duty. It'll be interesting to see if they play against that, and because like Spyro is the anti-COD, right? So if they go, actually we want to start doing that thing that like Ubisoft did, where they go, we're going to start encouraging like smaller like indie side titles or something like that. But I imagine it's pretty hard to take a huge company like Activision and begin to ramp up in. I mean, it's what Amazon have done, right? Like getting people on board, founding these new studios, and then going, okay, well, hopefully these games will work out. It's not sort of happening necessarily in an organic way from the sounds of it. It's like they feel like they need to diversify, or they're in an opportunity to.
Yeah. They like looking at the studios that Activision currently fully own. Activision Shanghai, not sure what they've done. Beanox, Demonware, High Moon Studios, and Toys for Bob. And then everything else, 1, 2, 3, they've got 4 studios that make COD. So it's like, you would hope that half of their owned studios make COD.
They've got 5 studios that make COD, because Toys for Bob, like 2 weeks ago,
do the multiplayer, right?
They announced that they're expanding their. They announced that they were like expanding their team or something, and then fired a bunch of people because they did the last Crash Bandicoot, and then they've become a COD support team. So
it looks like they're all COD support teams based on High Moon Studios did COD support for Modern Warfare, Black Ops Cold War.
Yeah,
like it's like they just have these other teams to support their main COD teams. So yeah, hopefully they look to do something else. Obviously, they have a partnership with Blizzard, or Activision own Blizzard. So
yeah, that's true.
We're kind of ignoring Blizzard in this conversation.
Yeah, I never think about them as the same, except for when I think about how Activision ruined Blizzard. That's the only time I link them in my head. They wrecked Blizzard. But I never think about the fact that they're still. I guess technically they're still giving us Blizzard games. So we'll see, and then hopefully again, something coming to Australia. Don't know what that is, but it would be exciting, and I'm sure that Bobby Kotick, as someone in the chat earlier, sitting upon the pile of his monstrous money, says Pat is melting in the chat. Hopefully he has heard wind of the tax breaks and is like, oh, that's something that we could use, because we are running low on money right now. So we'll see what happens by the end of 2022. You don't need to wait until 2022 for Activision to hire you as a game developer. You can become a game developer yourself right now with Game Builder Garage, which is the next game Nintendo is going to make you fall in love with and then take offline. We have a story from The Verge came out... a story on The Verge reporting on a game that just sort of got surprise announced last week. Game Builder Garage is a new software title from Nintendo that's designed to teach beginners the basics of programming and game design. It utilizes visual programming, has pre-built lessons and games, and will be launching on the Switch next month. Steph, your years at Spawny, this is the kind of thing that I feel like kids would have loved while you were making that show.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is such a great idea. I think anytime there were even games that were launched with a level editor gave people the opportunity to be creative and young kids just to get a taste of what it is to build something, inside a game. But this is kind of taking it one step further in terms of like gamifying the act of actual programming, which I think is so clever. And it means that perhaps it could even be something that's brought into like a school environment, getting kids started on the basics of understanding how games work and how they're made. I love it. And also, I mean, like, I don't know, I'll give it a go. I've never really understood how that side of things works. And if a child can do it, then maybe I can too.
I love these. I love these tools that have nodes. They're like modular development. Here's an idea that all the code's been done for you. You're just attaching ideas together. I feel like that's a really like nice step towards the next step after that is pulling whatever that node is apart and going like, how does that work? For like, the inquisitive minds, but to be able to just like jump in with all these modules and start throwing something together as a creative outlet, I think is really cool. And we saw so many interesting things happen with even just the Super Mario Maker game. So this feels like it has a lot more creative reach outside of just being the 2D kind of like side scrolly thing. So looking forward to seeing what people make with it.
I like that it's also sort of teaching you programming, with the basics, because I feel like even when like something like Dreams launched, it gave you a lot of tools to be really creative, but it was super overwhelming from the start and it was actually quite complicated to learn. I feel like something like this is going to give you better building blocks to acquire the knowledge you need to make things just by looking at the trailer. But I guess we'll have to see it in action.
Yeah, the whole node system is really, really cool. It's one of those things that I'm sure it will work like this, that there's actually tons of depth in it once you start sort of really understanding how it comes together. But even the first half of the trailer just shows you like how to put together a very simple like person running across the screen and jumping, and it just looks so easy. I really like the aesthetic of it as well. The fact that they've got these lessons built in to help you get forward. And yeah, Pete, like you said, like Mario Maker, super easy to make stuff. Like it really went, oh, this is, everyone can do this. And Steph, like you said, there are games out there that do this sort of thing way more with more complexity, but that complexity comes with the sort of like monkey's paw of having to put in 30 hours of learning a tool set before you can actually start making something that you're proud of. And the games that they're showing off here, they all look like, I don't know, a mix between a Flash and like page 4 on itch.io. But there will be some really interesting ideas that come out of this. And I think that this is also the kind of thing, like for my kids, when they get a bit older, this could be something that they just like experimenting with. I think it looks easy enough that you can go, oh, I'm going to put half an hour into this and I will get something out of it. Unlike a Dreams or something where you go, I'm going to put half an hour into this and I still haven't gotten through the little tooltip menu. So
yeah, I think the thing that I'm most excited about is the tutorials, which sounds lame, but like
no, but it makes sense.
Like Nintendo are really good at gamifying concepts, and like Scratch exists on PC, and like kids have been using Scratch, which is a very similar looking thing, like module based, but it doesn't have any personality other than it has a cat as its icon, which is cute. So I think like this will feel really intuitive and have just the right lessons to teach people how to really funnel people through the harder parts of it, which will get people past that hurdle and then they're away.
The only disappointing thing about it is that it's Nintendo. And so it's going to be really difficult to find games on it that people have played, to share your games with other people, and for those games to live anywhere when Nintendo are like, yeah, we're not interested in this anymore. It's kind of like, take advantage of it while it's here. And it's totally. Also, I saw Slim in the chat, Slim4477 said, how much is it? So it's coming out on June 11th, so in exactly a month, and it's coming out for $30 in the US. So it'll be like $40 something dollars here, $50, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a cheaper title as well, which I think is a great move, and you rarely see that from Nintendo on something like this, as opposed to like a what's the Tetris 99 on that sort of thing, like super small. But Nintendo rarely give smaller price tags on their games. So yeah, super cool looking. Moving on, and Discord. We heard a couple of weeks ago that it looked like Microsoft may be interested in acquiring Discord, but that sale fell through, and whether part of it had to do with this or this has come because of that, but PlayStation have swept in and bought a minority stake in Discord and will be implementing the service within the PSN.
What a twist.
What a twist.
What a twist.
This is like, you're going to take MLB The Show? Well, we're going to take something that you don't own, and we don't really own either because we only bought about 10% of it, and you'll still be able to use it on Windows, which is one of your primary platforms, but take that, Phil.
Do you think this means they're gonna have some kind of like app integration into, like, you know, when you're sort of playing PlayStation games, that there'll be something built into the interface?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
100%. That's good. I think that Jim Ryan actually he released a statement that's very exactly what you expect from the CEO of a company releasing a statement about acquiring a chunk of another company. But they did say that the two companies plan to, quote, bring Discord and PlayStation experiences closer together on console and mobile starting early next year. I mean, the obvious thing there is that you kind of like potentially pivot your voice chat just over to a Discord-based platform that means someone can be talking on PC while you're talking on your PlayStation out of your controller and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's just like, it feels like the weirdest collaboration to me, because as soon as like you talk about Microsoft acquiring, it's like that makes total sense. They're trying to make their Xbox a PC and their Xbox app on PC a console built into your PC kind of thing. So
and they own PC basically anyway, so you build it into Windows, like,
and then so like this acquisition, it's like PlayStation, well, you know, minor share acquisition. PlayStation have typically had a pretty walled garden approach. They build their own apps. They and the PlayStation 5 like comms work really, really well. It's not like they're desperate for a functioning voice chat. They're actually, it's as good as it's ever been on PlayStation right now.
Yeah.
So
but I guess that you go, what you could do is, so this is not how I play video games at all, but I know a lot of people do, of being like, you sit down at night to play something and you jump into your Discord server or your friend's Discord server and you kind of just watch someone play a game as you're all sort of talking and hanging out. Yeah. So if you can all be in the same Discord room talking, even while you're on PlayStation, so it's not necessarily like party chat on PlayStation, but you're just using, so the sound is coming through your headphones and blah, blah, blah. Yep. But then also you could just hit like the share button on PlayStation and start streaming your game to that Discord chat. Those kinds of things, which I think, to me, I'm like, I will never ever use that. But there are two reasons for that. One, I just don't do that. But two, I've got a bunch of like capture software and like complex setups here to do that because that's what we do. But most people don't have capture cards and that sort of thing. Yeah. And it's like, oh, you can just easily now funnel your PlayStation gameplay to your friends.
Is there anything to stop Microsoft from doing the same thing? Given that PlayStation have just bought like a minority stake, would Microsoft then be like, oh, we want to get in on that action and like also own a little piece?
I mean, as is my understanding, legally, no. It sounds like because Discord have chosen to start a working relationship with PlayStation. I don't see why that couldn't be an option. But given that,
could also. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
No. I actually didn't know how to finish that sentence.
I was gonna say there's also, I don't think legally anything stopping Microsoft and Discord from in 12 months' time going like Discord sells every other share they own to Microsoft and Microsoft owns the company.
Yeah.
So Microsoft might end up owning 90% of the company that Sony owns part of. But you know, it doesn't fit like. I'm sure Microsoft would have offered an absurd amount of money to purchased Discord, and the owners of Discord wanted to keep control of the company and take it in the directions that they want to take it in, at least for now. So that's, I'm sure, why that deal didn't go through. The money would have been good.
Yeah.
It's really cool that PlayStation is going to get Discord built into it. I would love for every single console to have Discord built into it, because I think the functionality of Discord is just like exactly what gamers want and need right now. It's not a perfect platform, but it's as close as we've got, and it's way better than most of the inbuilt systems.
When I'm playing on console out in the living room, when I want to use the TV, I end up using Discord on my phone.
Yeah,
which is really annoying because the sound quality is not great, and it's just the app is a bit buggy. But like, this would be such a great solution to that.
Isn't it interesting? Like, Discord is such a strange beast. Like, it's built for such a specific purpose. It's kind of like it reminds me of Facebook groups. So remember when you were like part of a group on Facebook, and all the things that you could do on there, sort of you couldn't go anywhere else to have that sort of thing, where it was like you could do a post and people could reply to that in like a thread, and like you post a picture and then there's video, and it was kind of like this service that formed because there was this need for people to congregate online, but and no one else kind of replicated that. And then Discord is, again, this app. I constantly think about Discord as just going, God, it's weird. It's such a weird thing. And I try to describe it to people who don't know anything about video games, and they're like, I don't get, why do you need that? And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know why I need that, but I do need that. And it's become such a fundamental part of the way that a lot of people who play video games interact with each other. And then I think that this investment from PlayStation as well, because when we were talking about the Microsoft potential acquisition, obviously the other side of that was, well, you could not do that and instead go public if you wanted to, and sort of like keep control of your company. I think that PlayStation putting in a chunk of money like this and then talking about the potential of integrating itself into their systems, I think moves Discord from being the thing that gamers choose to use and cements itself into, this is what this is a video game communication piece of software. Like, it is the default now, as opposed to just what everyone uses, which is great for them.
Yeah, totally. Like, and yeah, I see chat talking about like, don't Microsoft already do that with their Xbox app on PC? And yeah, they do. And yeah, most of the time that works really well. But like in terms of chatting with people on Xbox and stuff, but also it's limited to the Xbox ecosystem. And it's also sometimes just really clunky and painful with the party system and stuff like that. And we all know how Discord works. So it's like, it's nice to be able to have some familiarity like stretched across different platforms as well.
We all know how Discord works, unless you're Gus.
Yeah, who just, I don't know, actively refuses to learn. It's one of those things he's really stubborn on.
I know it's really poor taste to throw your friend and colleague under the bus when he's not here to defend himself, but my favorite moment with Gus in Discord recently was, we were talking about, it was like a while ago when we were talking about making some changes to the back pocket Discord and just how we would implement those changes. And it was just like renaming some rooms and moving some things around. And Pete and I, who are on the Discord, like always just have it open and use it. And then we're listening to the mods, and the mods had given us like, here's what we think we should do, and this is like best practice of blah blah blah. And then Gus just had this very dissenting opinion of like, well, this is what I think we should do. But then he kept backing up going, I don't know how Discord works, but I really think it should be like this. And it's like, you don't use it, you admit to not knowing how it works, and everyone who uses it is telling you that we should do it the other way. And it took him so long to cover it. And we eventually, I think Pete just went, you don't fucking use Discord, so why should anyone listen to you about what you think should happen in Discord? And then he was like, oh yeah, okay, fine, that's a good point.
I was stubborn with it to begin with. Like, I feel that like whole thing of like, oh, it's another thing that I have to learn. But I think once you have the motivation of like just, what does he use when he's playing with his high school friends with his weird hunting game?
They play on Xbox, so they're using Xbox
Party
Party
chat.
Chat.
Ew.
Yeah. No, he's an old man. He's an old man.
He just needs to teach them how to use it, and then once they've got their own little friend group happening, then they'll see all the wonderful joys of like giving people roles and weird names and funny sounds when people come into the room and stuff.
Yeah, I'm convinced those people don't exist. Moving on now, there has just been a ton of stuff coming out from this Apple Epic lawsuit. There is so much stuff that we kind of decided to not talk about all of the actual like information that's getting revealed about how like documents showing that Sony were really against cross-party platform, crossplay, documents showing that Epic offered Sony PlayStation $200 million for some exclusive for the game store, and the amount of money they spent on exclusive and blah, blah, blah. Like, just, I feel like I'm inundated with just numbers with the word Epic in the sentence, just all these documents coming out. But the best story that came out of this was that when the trial started, because of COVID and because there was a lot of public interest in the trial, they did this thing that they often do, which is basically they do a court conference call. So that it's almost like an investor call. You can just call in and listen to the trial as it goes on. This is a good way, if you can't sleep, to just like really allow you to drift off. However, the person who set up that conference call did not mute the participants when the call started. So for the first 20 minutes of the trial, pumped into the courtroom was the sound of hundreds to thousands of people who have called up to listen to this call start screaming incoherently and just troll the courthouse. More than 200 participants were dialed into the public line. Many were screaming "Free Fortnite" or "Bring back Fortnite on mobile, please, judge." Others played Travis Scott tunes, chatted away, or advertised their own YouTube channels. One voice rang out clearly above the rest and screamed, "I would suck all of you to get Fortnite mobile back." And then someone else said, "Why do I always use a controller? Because my grandmother's are." And then they got cut off because whoever was running the call finally figured out how to mute the participants and shut them up. And I just feel like that's exactly what, like, gaming, court, Fortnite, these words, if I put them all together, this is the inevitable conclusion of how this trial should have started. And I just think it's a great story, Pete.
It is a great story. The only thing that I think the judge could have done at that point is realize that he should just cancel Fortnite. He should just make Fortnite illegal.
He should. And I think he has the power.
It makes me sad because I feel like people have an impression of what gamers are like, and that incoherent screaming is just like reinforcing that idea.
We're good at constantly reinforcing the stereotypes about ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're just the lamest.
I'm going to quote and agree with Nicotex, which says, "This does not include anyone listening or watching right now, but fuck, I hate gamers."
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that's like all the ones that I hang out with, great people. All the ones I'm associated with, love you. I think the problem is that, like, there are just too many gamers now. And so what you're actually bringing into the world is just like teens with too much time, or drunk people on a Saturday night who finished Deep Blue Sea 3 and want something to do now. So that's the real issue.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, what a way to start. The fact that it took them 15 minutes to figure out how to mute it, as opposed to just shut the laptop screen and be like, we'll come back and deal with this later. Like,
but someone set it to not sleep on lid close, and then it's still just screaming when they close it. Like,
oh, good. And then rounding out today, this is a very personal story for me, and I don't think affects either of you, but may affect some people in the chat, which was last week it came out that most of the Giant Bomb team are leaving the website. So Timur Hussain from GameSpot wrote, "Alex Navarro, Brad Shoemaker, and Vinny Caravella have announced that they're leaving Giant Bomb. The announcement was made during a live recording of Giant Bomb's podcast, where the trio confirmed that May 7th will be their last day at the company." For those of you who don't know who Giant Bomb are, they're like one of the OG gaming review groups. I guess, like back during IGN, I guess, but like they started so early that it was before YouTube was a thing, and so I remember when they launched a video platform, because YouTube only allowed videos that were like less than 5 minutes, and they were like, we need it longer, so they just started their own platform, which is their website that's still continuing. So that's how old they are. Like Wikipedia wasn't around, and so they have a game wiki on their website that's now the like comprehensive, definitive game wiki, because they were like, someone needs to start cataloging this shit. And the guys involved who are leaving have been there for between 9 and 13 years, and I have been listening to them for like 12 years. And so it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you don't realize that someone has been a part of your life for 12 years. And then one day they're just like, Friday's my last day being a part of your life. I got broken up with from 3 middle-aged dudes late last week, and it really shook me.
Have they said anything about where they're going next, or what their plans are?
No, none of them have come out and actually said what they want to do, and what their plans are next. I actually doubt it's going to be. They might make a podcast, but I doubt they're going to stay in review. I feel like they will probably move into like consulting or something, because that is like the path once someone like finishes that. Yeah, and also like their website is built around like a subscription, and they still do things really old school, I guess, in some ways. They don't love doing like live streaming 6 hours of gameplay and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's just just one of those.
They're like a Rooster Teeth that didn't expand in the same way that Rooster Teeth managed to.
Totally,
capitalize on the things that they were good at in a massive way.
Yeah.
So RIP Giant Bomb. Basically, the website's still sticking around, and Jeff Gertzman, the one on the top right, is God, their fucking overlays are so awful.
I think they're intentionally bad.
They are intentionally bad. What their philosophy was, they used to do like they were like us, right? Like they used to do tons of really slick things, and then they were like, this is just too much work and it takes too much time. But their philosophy is, when they would make a new show, they would make the first episode look really, really good. And then they would make the rest of them just look like that, like fucking hot mess. Because they were basically like, we want to show that we can do it if we cared enough.
But we choose not to.
We don't have enough time. We choose
stress
to make it
that we
look
do
like
not care.
Yeah. Totally. Which is like a very nice philosophy. So
I love that.
So that is it for the news. And Steph, I believe that's it for you. Speaking of leaving companies, you've got an announcement to make.
What?
You're leaving the episode.
You're leaving the episode.
I'm leaving the company of these fine people. I'm not going.
Yes.
I wanted to scare some people. I thought that it would be. Thought that. Well, yeah, Dusk Bunny got terrified there for a second. There you go.
That's very mean. That's very mean. I'm not going anywhere. I've just got a physio appointment. Okay, I've got bad knees.
You're not going anywhere. You got bad knees.
That's why she's on a wheelie chair. She's going to roll all the way.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for the news. Enjoy the physio.
Thanks. And thanks for having me. And I hope you answer some fantastic questions for people. And I'll see the rest of you on Thursday.
Woohoo!